Dylan.
We're in shambles today because both of our internets are not cooperating.
They're pretty
I think I
horrible.
fixed it on my end because Sydney looks a lot better now than it was 5 minutes ago. I don't know if it's the same way for you, but I can actually see you now,
I,
so it's good.
I would agree. I would agree. You were frozen there for a minute, but
Thank God
we're
for
good.
hotspots. But we have a fun little race to talk about this week.
We
Uh,
did.
a lot of just kind of chaos in the early bits of it. Which led to some fun little aspects for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Um, shall we get right into it? I feel like this episode's probably gonna be a little shorter because we're not gonna do
I
race predictions today because there is no
I
race this weekend.
there's no
So
race. I agree. I think we should just jump right into it, I think this is gonna be an interesting one.
a quick one, a fun one. We got the internet situation under control so long as my hotspot doesn't die in the middle of this, but
Same.
that's an issue for later. If it happens, we'll just restart it and I'll have to do some magical editing that I'm
We'll
scared of.
figure it out. We'll figure it out.
But starting with qualifying because qualifying was pretty simple until it wasn't because
Yeah.
everyone kind of made it to Q3 that we thought of.
Came out of nowhere.
But of
Came out of nowhere.
course,
My poor little Esty Bestie did horrible this weekend, but it's fine.
I texted you as soon as he qualified P19. I just
Yeah, it was
sure
very
you know it. But
sad. I had such high hopes for him.
someone else said we had high hopes for coming into the season. Mr. Lando Norris is starting to scare me a lot.
I'm ugh, I just I don't know what's going on. I feel like the first two races, it looked great. I felt cloud nine, this is fantastic. Now what?
Yeah. It's not even a matter that he's not driving well, right? Because as you'll see later in the podcast, he had a very good race when he actually got into the race. It's just the
He
little
did, which
mistakes,
was
which
great.
we've gone over before. The little mistakes are not going to let you win, and that's showing because now your teammate, who hasn't made any mistakes since Australia when he spun in the rain when everyone was spinning, has now taken over the lead for the World Drivers' Championship. But if you guys aren't understanding what we're saying, Lando gets to Q3 and on the first flying lap crashes the car into the wall. Doesn't set a time in
Shambles.
Q3, starts P10, and that comes back to bite him heavily because you see Oscar qualify P2, literally
Seconds
a
to max, of
hundredth
course.
or thousandth off of
It
Max
was
Verstappen,
such
who
a
gets
small
pole.
number. Such a small number, but Max looked fantastic. I'm
Max
sorry.
did look fantastic.
I think I had texted you and said this looks like a Max win type of weekend.
You did that. I think those were your exact words, but
I think it was too.
um, it's kind of interesting to see because the Red Bull car looked a lot better this week. Even Yuki qualified pretty well
It
for his
did.
standards.
Well,
So
for his
for his standards, like he's obviously not going to be going for top threes right away, but
Mm-mm.
for Red Bull second car standards, he looked
I would
very good.
say I was gonna say he was looking very well compared to our previous drivers in that
Previous
car, is
drivers
all
that
I'm
we will
saying.
not mention because he didn't have a great race this week, but we're not even going to talk about him this week, so it's
Absolutely.
fine.
But all things considered,
All things considered, Yuki had a pretty good qualifying. However, it kind of goes back to the whole Lando issue. Like we said last week, Max made a mistake. Lando then proceeded to make a mistake with him, so he didn't capitalize. This week, Lando makes a mistake, and Max absolutely capitalizes and gets pole. So that's just kind of the difference that I'm seeing with Lando. That's starting to be a bit of an issue.
I just I just don't understand where it's coming from because again, like I feel like he was showing such promise per se at the beginning of the season, and then now I feel like we're just like right back where we started.
Yeah.
Like I feel like nothing's changed, which is very frustrating. Because again, I have such high hopes. This is not to like bash him by any means. Obviously, I still want the kid to win. We still have plenty of races left, but
We'll
like
see.
when is the page gonna turn? Like when are we actually gonna start
Which, funny we should say that. We talk about when the page turn last year was in Miami. Next race in Miami.
I
So
know.
maybe we can hold out some hope. Uh,
Hopefully, hopefully.
maybe have a repeat of an upstairs pub moment.
That would be
And
awesome. You
have
know what?
a
Let's
great
fly.
week.
Let's fly back to IU solely to recreate that.
Hey, I hear that Indiana is currently boycotting Kilroy's, so
I
from
did
what I'm
too.
seeing, upstairs is going to be the place to be. So I'm down.
I did
But
too. I did too.
in other news, back to the race. The start was definitely a little chaotic. The middle of the
That
race
was
was
so
nothing crazy.
I kind of loved it.
I loved it too.
I kind of loved it.
Max getting a taste of his own medicine, which is fun to
Oh my
see.
gosh. He oh, he he pisses me off sometimes because I don't know if you heard his radio. He was like, "Oh my God, that's I don't know what he said exactly. He was basically complaining about it. It's like, dude,
So
what do you
I saw
mean?
something that said that the broadcasters bleeped it because they thought he said the F word on the radio.
Yeah, they did. They bleeped it.
However, Max said that he said bloody lovely, which may or may not be a curse word or derogatory word in other countries.
I
In
feel like
the
that's something
US,
that's
we don't really care. Like,
not really.
we don't say that. So when they bleeped that, everyone was like, oh my God, he's really mad. But it sounds like F1 TV is just kind of being the losers that they are. So that's an interesting one. But in case anyone didn't see it, Oscar got a great start
It was
off the
gorgeous. It
line,
was
just
gorgeous.
gorgeous. And rather than giving up space like certain other drivers, Lando, Leclerc, whoever it may be, have done to Max in the past,
Mm.
Oscar sticks it into the apex. Max outbrakes himself, where he had no chance of making the turn,
Yeah.
should he have even not had
No,
Oscar there.
he literally was not making that no matter what.
Even
Like
if Oscar wasn't there, he was still going to be off
he was
and
still going off
not
track.
happy. But
Maybe not as far, but like,
not as far, but it
dude,
wouldn't
like,
still
come
wouldn't be great.
on.
Max then cuts the track, goes into first, doesn't give the place back. After some talk and a safety car, which we'll get
5 second
into, Max
penalty.
is given a 5 second penalty, which me and my dad were talking about it during the race. Seemed pretty generous from the FIA to not give him
Well,
any
I
more.
thought it was very generous. If anything, I felt he should have given the place back.
That for sure, but when you don't give the place back right away, there's nothing
Yeah,
that
like a
they're
10,
going to put it
but
in their hands. But
I
we've seen it before. I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but Liam Lawson did the exact same thing later in the race and got a 10-second penalty.
I was just about to say it should have been 10 seconds.
So I don't want to talk about him, but that
Well,
was a
I mean,
great
it's
thing to
not even,
say.
it's just like he literally was entirely off the track.
And it wasn't particularly close, which is very, very annoying. Um, this then
Like,
led to a 5 second penalty. However, Max made 3 seconds of that penalty back up because by the time they were pitting, he had a 3 second lead over Piastri,
yeah,
which we'll talk about later, didn't really end up mattering. However, it didn't really hurt his race at all.
obviously
Like
didn't hurt his race. I think it was great driving on his part. I mean, he did well. I mean, given
he did
he
Max. He's
I was
Max.
gonna say he did his part. He did Max. He did what Max would have done, honestly, which is it's
Exactly.
insane to see, which is cool. Like
It's gonna be fun to see him doing
I
it
was gonna
for
say we'll talk
like
about it
next year.
later, but I was like, I don't know. I mean, it was impressive. At
It
least
was
as
very
impressive.
impressive.
And I feel
Um,
like also Red Bull's fast, but I mean, it's not fast enough, if you know what I mean.
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
We got some ideas to talk about. But getting back to the first lap, other than the Max cutting the corner, the second Red Bull didn't have a great moment as Yuki and Gasly made contact on the first or second turn of the race
What was
and it takes them both out.
it was fully Yuki, wasn't it? He turned into his
I
bad.
mean, it wasn't necessarily anyone's fault. It seemed like a pretty just standard racing incident. Like one
Ugh.
tire hit the back tire, they both spun, and literally any other track, it probably doesn't matter because you're just going off into the gravel and you can drive back in.
I
But
was gonna
because it's a
say,
street course, he's hitting the wall and the car's destroyed.
I was gonna say, did Yuki actually hit the wall? I know Gasly did,
They both
right?
hit the wall. Yuki didn't hit as hard. Gasly hit it hard enough that he destroyed the car there, and you could see
Yeah,
it.
I was gonna say because I knew Gasly like destroyed the car, but I felt like I'm pretty sure Yuki like kind of drove away
Yuki
at
drove
first.
back to the pits, so he
I
got
was saying,
away
I didn't
from
think
it.
it was that. It didn't look that bad, at least in
It
hindsight.
didn't look bad. They got back to the pits, and from what the commentators were saying, they were checking to see if the wing was damaged at all, and like if there was a crack to the back wing because you can't replace a back wing in the
Well,
middle of the race.
yeah.
And they said that there was significant damage, so they had to
Okay,
retire.
that
But Yuki
makes
did
sense.
get back. Um, just unfortunate for both of them, especially for me this week because I had such high hopes for Alpine, as we'll talk about.
Yeah, because
Um,
we had an even better outcome at the end too.
didn't help, but that happened. Safety car was deployed. That was when Max got the penalty. And
Europe,
then nothing really happened for a while. It was kind of pretty basic.
really, it was kind of a boring middle
The
part.
only thing that was really happening in the middle part was Lando was kind of carving up the field because he, one, should be doing that and two, had to do that. Which like I wrote in the notes, I just had to say it because Lewis was so good. I don't know if you saw it, but of just absolutely abusing DRS to keep
Oh my
Lando.
God. That I was gonna say them going back and forth, like it was crazy for me. It was it was nice to see because you finally had some like final action on the race. And I feel like it was very nice seeing Lewis actually kind of
Prime Lewis days when he, yeah. He did that for like 2 or 3 laps, which was
it
pretty
was a
cool.
while.
Which I don't know if you noticed that later because they didn't show it on the TV, but I was watching the timing screens. He did the exact same thing to Oscar when Oscar was trying to pass him before Lewis pitted. Except Oscar, I guess, probably had intel that Lewis had been doing it to Lando because he passed him pretty quickly after. But I
Quickly.
watched Oscar pass him. They get to the DRS zone and they pan off of him. I'm looking at the timing screen. Lewis passes Oscar back. And then I guess they get to the end of the straight, and Oscar just does Oscar things and drives right past him again. But he did it to Oscar too, and no one
Huh.
saw it.
Interesting. I was gonna say, I feel like at the end of the day, like the McLaren is obviously a better car, and I felt like obviously I think Oscar handled that a little better than Norris did, given the fact that it maybe didn't take Oscar as long. But it was very refreshing to see Lewis defend in that sense, and that it was, I don't know, it was kind of nice to see a little bit of
It was fun
action.
to see. I will say I love that track. Like it's so fast and there's like a
It's
lot of stuff going on.
fun.
It's a very fun track.
It's
So
so fun. I forget too. This is such off sidelines. I think I saw it on Instagram and it was like Nickelback or something was performing at the race.
I didn't see that, but I would.
I'm gonna have to fact check
If
that.
like Saudi Arabia, like you have Saudi money, right? How is Nickelback the best thing you can
I
get?
don't I'm gonna have to check. Hold on.
Oh man. But
Oh.
as Sydney looks this up, to keep going, nothing really happened after that. The back was kind of nothing crazy going on, but Oscar does end up undercutting Max, which was certainly a benefit because they didn't nail their pit stop by any means. It was 3.4 seconds, but it was very solid. It was good enough. Max had his penalty, of course, and then after the penalty also didn't do great for a pit stop. And by the time that they're both back on the track, Oscar is ahead of Max, which is great.
Fantastic.
Nothing changes after that. Oscar will go on to win the race. We don't need to act like that didn't happen because
I
he
was gonna
once
say that
again drove
it was
away.
gorgeous. Congrats
Not
to him for that.
nearly as much as last week. He was only like 2.5, 3 seconds ahead at the
It
end,
wasn't fun.
which is scary for sure. Sounds like Red Bull's catching him, and you can never count Max out. But
Can I think who did I have? Nope.
you
Oh,
did
I
not. You didn't have anyone this week, actually, but we'll talk about that later. Um, so Max ends up getting second. Oscar ends up getting first. Another one I wrote in my notes just because it was fun to talk about. I was not aware that Fernando Alonso was Gabriel Bortoletto's
Oh
manager.
yeah, it's
I
like
didn't know
never.
that.
I didn't know that either.
And that was the closest of close calls I've ever seen. Because I don't think Bortoletto
I
realized he
thought
was there.
I thought the when he hit when he hit the wall, I thought his tire like popped off
I don't
or
even
like,
know if
popped
he
in.
hit the wall or did he get really, really
I
close.
think he like kind of grazed the wall a little bit. He
I
might not have. Again, I couldn't
It's
tell.
Fernando Alonso, so he would have made it work either way
Yeah,
at the
but
end of the
that
day.
was funny. I didn't realize that he was like his like what is he like a manager?
He's part of the management team. I think they like
Yeah,
similar like is it Mark Webber
that
that's
sounds right.
Oscar Piastri's manager? It's like a lot of former racers do it or In Alonso's case, he's
That sounds right. I
40
think you're
years old, 42 years old, that he's experienced enough to multitask, I guess. But
right. I guess so. Maybe that's why he's
uh,
doing so bad this season, but whatever.
but other than that, nothing really happens. Lando ends up driving past everyone up to fourth position. He got past Russell, who was having some tire issues at the end. He said that he thought that the tire was going to come off to the point that Kimmy, who was like 10 seconds behind him, ended up being like 4 seconds behind him by the end of it. Because George was playing it very safe.
Mhm.
Lando didn't end up getting to Charles, was a little too late on that one. It was very
Sorry. I
close. He
mean,
almost could have.
P10 to P4, can't
Still
complain.
great. Um, However, it did lead to us having three different constructors on the podium, which was pretty cool because that hasn't
Yeah.
happened in a while. With
Oh,
Leclerc
nice.
getting third, which I predicted. We're not going to talk about it yet, though. Uh, Max
After.
second and Oscar first. So, which was also really funny because I saw videos of the podium and Max looked pissed because he got that.
I don't even feel bad
I don't
though.
either, but
He literally textbook like should have gotten even a larger penalty than that. Whatever.
it is what it is. But
It is what it is.
other than that, that's basically it for the race.
To say it wasn't too much of a
Nothing too chaotic. Miami's very hit or miss, so we'll see how it goes. Last year was purely a safety
oh, it was
car that forced
amazing. I
Lando to
think that
win,
was
but we're
one of
not
the
going to talk
top
about that.
I think that was literally one of the top like three races I've ever watched in my life. It was
That was
all
the most fun I've had watching an F1 race in a while because I think we mentioned it last week, but just for context for everyone, that was the week of our graduation for Indiana. So my parents were in town. My dad's not like a big bar guy, right? He doesn't go out. I managed to drag him to upstairs
oh my it was
with Sydney,
perfect. It was literally
where we watched that
perfect.
race. It was like us and like three other people because it was like 11 o'clock in the morning on a
Tori was with
Sunday.
us too, wasn't she?
Who, Maddie?
Tori.
Oh, Tori was there. Tori was there too. So Tori was there too.
Ah.
And then Maddie showed up at the very end. But
Oh, shit.
um, yeah, it was just like the 4 to 5 of
It
us
was
at 11
awesome. It was
a.m. on a
literally
Sunday. It
awesome.
was great.
It
But
was so awesome. That was beautiful because I think we were all kind of just like talking more than we were watching the race for the
and
majority
then
of the
we
part.
realized
We
that
were
Lando
like,
was winning. It was like,
we were like,
wait a
wait,
minute,
guys, wait, guys.
wait a minute,
That
which was top five moment of graduation because that was pretty cool. But
was awesome. That was so awesome.
to go and damper the mood a little bit for the McLaren fans that we are, as well
Ugh.
as everyone else here, we have some big conversations that we need to talk about because this World Drivers' Championship is turning out to be somewhat of a doozy because you know Lando's not going to back out of it. And he is now behind Mr. Oscar Piastri, who took the lead of the Drivers'
And
Championship
what is it by 2 points,
this
I
week.
think?
It's by more than that. I need to
Is it?
check. Let me see I believe it's more like 12.
Is it 12? I might have read that wrong. I did a brief glance immediately after the race was over, so I don't know if it was like fully
10.
updated.
It is 10.
10? It's 10?
Oscar's at 99, Lando's at 89, Max is at
Oh, I was
87,
reading Lando and Max because it's only 2 points between
which is
those.
also insane how Max is caught up that much, but
What happened to George? Bring George back.
George will
Whatever.
be fine. The fact that he has 73 points already is kind of crazy. And you also have to think Leclerc has 47, but he should have more because he had
Yeah, that's
the
fair.
or the
And he's
disqualification.
still doing pretty hot. Good for him.
However, back to the
Anyways.
McLaren stuff. How do they deal with this? Because we saw papaya rules become an issue last year. We saw Oscar, his first win was basically handed to him by Lando. There's been a couple other moments that there's been issues with team rules. How are they going to manage that? Because you don't need them both crashing their cars out and Max taking the lead. Because that's very possible. We've seen it before with Mercedes and Nico Rosberg in the Lewis Hamilton days.
Yeah. I I don't know. In my opinion, if I were them, obviously obviously Lando's your more senior driver on the team. We know this. That's fine. And I can't confidently say that that is going to take precedence though, because I think at the end of the day, like you have as a team, you need to cater more towards your top driver, and whether that's your first or second driver, I don't think it matters.
We don't know who that is right now. That's the
I
issue.
know, which is hard. But how I'm looking at right now is I have a feeling it's Oscar because I feel like at the end of the day, he's making less mistakes. I feel like he's more competitive in a sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think I don't know if competitive is the right word. I think more level-headed may be the right word.
Maybe
The fact
level-headed.
that like
I could see that.
they're
I was
both
gonna say I don't
obviously
know how
very
you would say it.
competitive, but nothing really bothers Oscar.
I was gonna say I don't know, like I don't know how you would describe. Yeah, he's just
You
very.
want to know how to describe him? My dad said it perfectly when we were watching the race. Oscar Piastri is a reincarnation of Kimi Räikkönen.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Nothing bothers him. He's just so stoic about everything. Doesn't really care. Just
Oh
is
my
there
God,
to
wait,
win and go
that's
home.
so correct. He totally is. Oh my God, he totally is.
Exactly.
You need to like
Which is
put
a great thing. Great
that
one to
needs
take
to be
away.
going to like a quote book or something. That's crazy.
So
But I feel like I would rather obviously I don't have millions of dollars and I don't have the experience, but I would rather put my money more on somebody like Oscar or Kimmy, for instance, than on somebody who's like I would say who somebody has kind of a similar personality to Max, but can't drive as well as Max.
mhm. I think that's very fair. The thing that I'm convinced is going to happen just because I know how McLaren has done it in the past and like how their team rules and team orders have never really been straightforward and worked.
Nope.
I fear and my hope hopefully not, but what I think is going to happen prediction, they're both going to screw this up and Max is going to end up back in the conversation.
I mean,
As if he's
honestly,
not now. He's only 2 points off Orlando, but he's still
no.
12 off of Oscar.
You
Max
say I have
wins
a long
one
way to
race and he's
go.
back into it, right? Max
No.
wins a race, Lando comes second, right? It's what, 25, 18, 15? That's a 10-point swing.
I think so.
Say
Yeah.
say Max gets first.
He's already, yeah.
He's not winning, but Max gets first, Lando gets second, Oscar gets third. Max is then
What?
what?
First?
Ahead of Lando
Is he first or second?
and
He beats
two
second.
points behind of Oscar.
Yeah.
He'd be 2 points. And all of a sudden it's
Then
right
it's
back
like
up to
whoever wins
square.
the next race. God. I I can see that. I can totally see that.
But this is why like the issue has always arisen, right? Like so many people say you can't have two number one drivers. McLaren tried to differ from that. You're gonna have to figure out if you can still do that. Like obviously the car's faster than everyone still. It didn't look that much faster than everyone this week.
Not
That's maybe because
necessarily.
Max is just Max, but
No, no.
even Leclerc was like kind of pulling away from Lando. He held
I
Lando up last week. Like
I fully agree. I think you're right. I don't
there's some
want
tough
to.
decisions that need to be
I
made.
was gonna say I think you're right. I don't want you to be right, but again, like you can't have yeah, you can't have two number one drivers, so it's like who are you gonna pick? Because
I think,
I look at Zach and I'm like, I feel like Zach's obviously answer is gonna be Lando.
yeah, which is
But then you're
interesting
losing
to think.
Oscar.
I think what my idea for this, right? Let me just see. I want to check the schedule, right? I think they're going to let them race free for all for the next 3, 4, 5 races, right? It's a long season. We have a lot of time. So long as Max doesn't get so close that they have to make a decision. However, say they race Miami, uh, Emilia-Romagna, Monaco, Spain, and Canada, right? Go free for all. Whoever's winning between the two of them by the end of those 5 races should get precedent for the rest of the season because McLaren cannot. They're going to win the the
It's
constructors championship,
literally
right?
it's
That's not going to
not
be an issue, right? The
no,
constructors
literally.
championship is wrapped up. They're going to win it. Maybe not wrapped up. It's too early to say that, but they're looking heavy favorite. Now you have to win the drivers championship. You
Yep.
have to dethrone Max. Do something. Do something different, and that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to make a choice.
No,
As
I agree.
sucky as it's going to be for one of them.
I fully agree with you. I don't know. I also I mean I obviously feel it's too early to be speculating about moving and people moving and teams
We'll
changing
talk
up,
about it later.
but we'll get there eventually. But I will say if I mean obviously I'm not in either of their heads, but we do have a new team coming. I don't know if I'd put my money on them to win next
I
year,
wouldn't put my
but
money on them at all, but I'm also not going to I'm not putting my money on Lando and Oscar leaving. I think it would have to get really, really bad and chaotic for that to ever happen. However, you have to think
I
now,
wouldn't be
right?
surprised, but also like it could just equally be as bad and chaotic as it could
Exactly.
get.
McLaren is going to have to choose between the guy that they literally watched grow up and developed from the beginning to their whole idea from when they started. They knew it was going to be hard originally. They were going to try to be world championship contenders. They're finally there, but now they have to make a decision because they have a new up and coming superstar. Like this guy, Oscar Piastri is not just any normal driver.
He's
He's a
not.
generational talent. Like it's very
It is,
obvious that
and
he's
which it's crazy to me. Like I can confidently tell you I did not expect him to be driving as well as he is. I mean, obviously we knew he's a good driver, but I did not
this is
expect him.
year three, right? And he's already competing for drivers. Like that says something.
That's why I said
Lando's
I'm
in
very
year like
shocked.
eight. Like
Very shocked.
Lando's had good cars before. Oscar's putting it to use. So
I know. I
you
don't know.
know how much I love Lando. I will always love Lando more than any
I
grand, but
know, but the
as the McLaren fan in me, you almost have to just give Oscar.
that's what I'm saying.
But
You can
again, give it a
only do
couple
so much.
races because we could be just talking so much nonsense that Lando comes back and destroys everyone in
That's
Miami.
what I'm saying. Like we nobody knows. It's literally all up in the air. It's a
Because that's
coin toss.
why it's just so weird. Because like last year and even the beginning, like the first race of this year, Lando was pulling away from
Oh my God,
everyone,
it's gorgeous. It's
like
awesome.
Piastri included. He was driving him away.
No, literally. I mean, time will obviously tell, but it's like this could either be a very all signs point to yes type of season, or it could literally be, oh my God,
What are we gonna do?
what are we gonna do?
Which I have some ideas. The silly season episode. We're gonna do. I think we should do the driver prediction episode when the summer break comes around because it gives us something to talk about.
Oh, yes, that'd be
But
fun.
we also need to make sure we don't time it so wrong that people start getting announced. So maybe like the
Yeah.
first driver gets announced so we know.
And then we kind of
Then
can
we
get some
start doing it
speculations
because we don't want to
going.
get behind the ball here.
I like that. I
Um,
like that.
so we'll do that. But
Like
speaking of
it.
moves, because I saw this on Instagram today, I don't know how real it is, but I did see it. I want to actually look it up before I start
I
spewing.
have no idea what you're talking about. I did not see this.
I saw it on Instagram.
Which
And it is
account?
here on Google. Christian Horner apparently has been having talks with one George Russell for a driver's spot next year. And
Why?
I think people don't realize how scary that could be for Red Bull. Because I think the only way they're talking to Russell right now is if
Is
they think
Max
they're
leaving?
losing Max.
See, but I also saw something the other day that saw that Max completely just shut down the idea of him leaving Red Bull.
He's done that for years though. Like you can never he's not gonna do it in the middle of the season, obviously, like too much
Yeah.
distraction. And we saw like how that worked for Mercedes last year, right? Lewis announced that he was leaving before the season, and Russell was noticeably the number one driver after that because they had no real reason to help Lewis, right?
Yeah. But also like Yuki's not in a position to be
But
treated like
people are realizing this, right? You don't realize. There's the clause in Max's contract. I think we talked about it last week. If he's under third place or third or below after I think this race or next race, maybe by summer break, I don't know. He can opt out of his contract. I don't know if that means immediate effect and like he's just completely gone, or if that means the end of the season. He's no guarantee to be on Red Bull next year. George Russell's also on an expiring contract. He doesn't have a contract next year for Mercedes.
oh, but I feel like I can't see Russell anywhere else but
The
Mercedes.
same way that we can't see Max anywhere else for Red Bull. I think it's very plausible and I think it's going to happen that they switch seats.
I was gonna say they're definitely not driving together.
Toto Wolff is going to get his man one way or another, and he's going to have Kimi Antonelli, who I also think is generational. We have no proof for that yet, but like I think he
He's a
will.
baby. He's such a
And then
baby.
Max Verstappen. Like that would be
Got
ridiculous.
potential.
But you also have to realize that that probably stunts Kimi's growth a little bit because Max is going to be so much
Yeah.
better than him. But
But also, you never know. Come next year, Kimmy could be the next Oscar at this rate, for all we know.
it'd be interesting. It would be. I can't imagine they would ever put Russell and Max together. I feel like
Oh
them
my God.
talking, Red Bull talking to Russell means there's something going on.
Something's amiss. Something's in the air. I didn't see that. I mean, there's definitely been like speculations of Max leaving, but I didn't think of Russell.
The Max Mercedes rumors has been around for years, so I don't know if that's really a surprise. It's just the fact that everyone kind of thought Russell was a guarantee to stay, right? Like no one
That's
really
kind of
thought
what
that
I
he'd
was
leave.
thinking.
I
Oh,
think there's something brewing. We'll talk about that in a couple episodes, but we
who
wanted to
knows?
at least touch on that now
Maybe
because
Danny Rick's coming back.
obviously the week is a little quiet with no race this week, so we wanted to just touch on some fun things. However, I think it's time to recap the games that we played this week because we both had good weeks just in separate areas, right?
I was just about to say, I'm kind of
Because
mad I changed my team because why was this the one week that Williams actually did pretty well?
I did the same thing and completely trashed it. But
Williams actually did well. I was kind
we'll
of mad.
start with the fantasy first because I learned the hard way that the no negative does not factor in the negative from the extra transfers I did. So the
What
20
does it
points
even
negative,
do then? I'm
the
so
no negative
confused.
was basically, I think, just preventing the negative points that Alpine crashed because that. So that may have helped, but I don't really know. Um, Not that it would have mattered because that 20 points that I lost anyway would not have put me anywhere. I got dead last this week, which really, really sucks. Didn't help that Lando crashed in qualifying, so didn't do well there. However, he did pass everyone, which gave me a lot of points. Oscar at 38, whatever. Behrman did nothing. Hadjar did all right, but didn't do great. Albon ended up in the points, which is cool. And of course, after Haas and Alpine have two fantastic weeks, they both absolutely sucked this week. So they did nothing for me. I got 139 points for dead last. I actually had 159, but I lost 20 because of the transfers. Dead last. I think I'm in fourth now. I think you're in second and Peter's in third.
Yep, Zug's
Um,
still. Not by much at this rate if you keep
yeah,
doing that.
not great. However, Sydney, on the other hand, I think this may have been your best week because Nick has won every single week so far.
I
So
know,
we're
Nick.
not just
How
gonna.
many points did Nick get? Did I?
I don't know if anyone
He
has.
beat me by like 6 points.
Australia, he won. China, he won.
10 points.
Japan, he won. Yeah, he's won every single week. That's
Of
absurd.
course did.
Um, Sydney got second this week, only 10 points behind Nick, which is growth. She had 186 points with what did you have?
I did actually pretty well. I had no negatives other than my transfer.
You had one negative. So you actually tied Nick because he had 196, you had 186 after the 10-point loss. So you actually tied him. So that's growth. We're getting somewhere.
Doing
Um,
killed me a little bit, but he still gave me a point.
yeah. I don't know if you noticed me like wiping my nose every 5 seconds. My allergies
My
are
I
starting
was
to
just about to say
absolutely
my
murder me.
allergies are so
It's
bad.
so bad.
My
It
allergy
was,
meds tomorrow.
in case anyone doesn't know, I'm in New York. City's in Wilmington, Delaware. So pretty similar weather,
The
right?
pollen is going
It's
crazy right
so
now.
bad. It was, I think, 75 degrees and sunny today, and I was outside for a good amount. I went for a run, and I am dying. Like my eyes are scratchy, like
It
sneezing
my
uncontrollably. It's
my
just so bad.
nose is really runny and then my throat's kind of scratchy.
It's really bad. But back to this. Sydney ended up with Behrman, Piastri, Doohan, Albon, Ocon, McLaren, and Haas. McLaren put in work because of all the overtakes that Lando had, which was very, very nice. Of course, with Oscar winning too, definitely helps. So, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't really have thoughts about it, to
Do
be
we need to
honest.
switch anything? I feel like you kind of cooked. I don't know if you need to.
I think I did kind of cook. I mean, Haas hasn't failed me yet. I'm kind of upset I took my Williams out. But I feel like in the sense that I took Williams out, Haas is equally performing as bad as they were, so I really didn't change much.
Now, the only thing I'm considering changing, I don't think I'm going to because Lando did get his first win here, would put my 2x on Oscar instead of Lando.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
think I'm going to do that, but I also don't know if I like Behrman on my team.
Oh my God, you have so many points in the other league. Oh my
Do
God.
I? I don't know. I actually haven't
You have
checked.
911 points.
Okay, wait, this Behrman's been better than Ocon, Loki, right?
I think Ocon's been a little better than Bearman, but I
Actually,
might
that's it
be
gives it.
lying.
They're actually dead even.
Are they really?
Ocon has 54 fantasy points on the season. Behrman has 53.
Ooh.
We're rolling with the young gun. I like it. Hadjar is still ridiculously cheap.
I'm
Let's
just so
stretch it.
confused how you're doing so well in these other leagues.
We're gonna leave this one. Team two is being left. So we're gonna look at the other leagues now because I haven't actually looked at that yet. I believe I'm winning because obviously, right?
I'm
Um,
like shocked. I was up there for a while, and I'm like,
yeah, you've my dad was actually talking some smack about your team the other day. He was like, Sydney had a really bad week, so you need to
I
show
did
out.
have a really bad week.
But yeah, in the family league, I'm in first, 911 points. Tori's in second with 820. Sydney's now down to fifth and seventh with 713 and 705.
Yeah,
It is
my
pretty
yeah.
funny. My number one team has 911 points in first place. My second team is in 10th place out of 12 people with 642. So I'm really good and really bad,
You, I feel like you should just emulate the team that you've got going.
which is also really, really annoying because the team that I'm in first place in the family league is not the team I put in our league with the friends.
I know. So I said I feel like you should just like
Which yeah, I still
you would
wouldn't be
be
winning,
a
by the way.
contender with Nick. I'm not even gonna lie. You would be you're 132 points off of
I
Nick.
believe I could add myself to it, but I'm not going to cheat, so I'm not going to do that. But
That's fair.
we'll figure it out. We're not, neither of us are going to make any changes yet, right? We have a week to discuss that. We don't need to do
Yeah,
it
I'm not
now
gonna make
anyway.
any changes yet.
So we're going to leave it for now, which gives me to my favorite discussion of the day because boy, did I cook.
I don't want to talk about this.
As you guys know, we were doing the race predictions with the point structure. We both picked eighth place. Neither of us got it right, so we're just gonna skip over that. I picked Gasly, who was out in the first turn, and you got actually pretty close on that
I
because you picked
did. I
Albon
was so freaking close. Who ended up in eighth? I forget.
Sainz because Sainz was
Was it
dragging Albon
Signs?
along with DRS.
I had the team right.
So you got
Maybe
the
we
team
should
right.
do like half points for the team.
I would like almost want to give you a pity half point, but I know that's going to come back to bite me if I do that. So I'm
I
not
mean, at
gonna do
this
that.
rate, I don't know.
I you get one random right and I get it wrong, you're right back in it. So I don't
I
want to hear it.
guess, I guess, I guess, I guess.
But City put up a donut this week. Just ripped the band-aid off. She
It
had
was a
nothing
fat
right.
donut. It was a
She had
big,
nothing
big
right.
donut.
She had Lando winning. Of course, we did this before qualifying, so it was a little bit of a bad luck on both of our parts because I had Lando second. She had Lando winning, Oscar second. So you actually, had you known Lando wouldn't be up there because of qualifying, you would have had
I
Oscar, Max, George, Charles. So you would have had two, one and two right.
yeah,
So that's just unlucky on you. Um,
it's
so yeah,
fine.
she put up a fat donut. Lando, Oscar, Max, George, Charles.
I did put up a
Um,
fat donut.
I cooked.
You did.
I'm
I'm
not trying to pat
actually
myself on the back,
shocked.
but I cooked.
The Charles, I mean the Oscar, in hindsight, I felt like it would have been either Oscar or Lando winning this
I mean,
race.
it always is. Like every single time,
It
one of
always
the
is.
three, right?
But the Charles one is kind of crazy.
I think I might be picking Oscar to win every week until he proves me otherwise because he just looks so much better than everyone.
Bold. See, I feel like I went into like the mindset of like, okay, he picked Oscar.
I'm
Obviously,
gonna
like
pick
he
Lando.
picked Oscar, so Oscar's not gonna win.
I'm pretty sure I prefaced myself with that. I was like, that's what I did actually, because the week before I let you go first, and I think like I may have gotten an idea or two from
Yeah.
listening to you. So I gave you that opportunity to take some ideas from me.
That
Um,
backfired.
it didn't work because you went and did the exact opposite, which we did say in the episode. You did the exact opposite of what I did. I had Oscar in first, got 5 points for that. I had Lando in second, didn't get anything for that. However, I don't know why I did this, but I did it. I had Leclerc beating Max and
Yeah,
getting third.
I don't know where you got that from.
He
I don't
didn't
know
beat Max.
how.
We're not going to act like he beat Max, but he did get third. So that's another
I
3 points.
That came out of nowhere. That was a full left field pull. That came out of
And you
nowhere.
know the best part about it? I'm not done yet.
Oh my God.
Max got fourth. I put Max to get fourth. He didn't get fourth. He got second. So we're not going to talk about that. I put Russell to get fifth, and Russell got fifth. So I doubled my points this week. I had 8 last week. Sydney had 5 last week, I believe. I put 9 up this week.
Yep.
Sydney put up 0, leaving the score now at 17 to 5.
I can't
Now,
I can't believe I got zero.
I proposed that I'm going to propose this. We're not going to use it yet because it's way too early.
Okay.
Similar to how F1 Fantasy does it, right?
Okay.
We're going to be allowed, which you approve or not. I think you're going to approve it, so I'm just going to act like it's ready here. 1 week where we
Okay.
can have 2x. That if you get anything right, you get double points. Just so if someone does pull away, it gives us an opportunity to come back.
I I would be down. I think we need to give this another like two
We're
races
not
since we're
doing it
not
yet
good.
because we're gonna have to
Because
like figure it
if
out.
you end up like 50 points ahead of me at this rate, we're not doing that because you could end up easily 100 points ahead of me.
If I'm up 50 points, I'll just give you one and I'll leave myself as normal.
Good Lord.
Um, so yeah, 17 to 5. We're not gonna do our predictions for Miami because the race
Not
is 2 weeks
yet.
away.
Not
And
yet.
we're gonna need something to talk about next week because we don't have a race to debrief. So we're gonna do that for a
Find
while
some
next week.
stuff. Something,
So
something's always going on.
we'll figure it out. But
Something's always going on.
something is always going on. I'm sure there's gonna be more rumors.
I was just
But
look at the news.
some news at all, anything? This
No.
was a bit quicker of
It
an episode. We did say it was
was.
going to be, and I'm not mad about it because I'm dying and can't speak anymore because I feel like I'm going to just sneeze everywhere.
News, I know. I'm exhausted. I went for a run today and I ran past those all of the pollen in the trees and I was like I was
That
wheezing there for a
entire
little
place
bit.
that you run in is just pure like brush, isn't it? Like
Oh, yeah, it's like the riverfront. So it's all just like
that's miserable.
I know. I was wheezing for a minute. It was not cool.
I ran around a track at my middle school and I was dying. I can't imagine what that would be.
Ugh. Maybe I need
But
athletics to run on a track instead. Whatever.
I think we covered everything again, like we
I think
always
we
do.
did too. I think it was a good discussion. I mean, race wasn't too chaotic. I think it was a good,
It was a good race.
it was
Nothing,
just a good race.
nothing to
I
complain
mean,
about.
it was just a good, what was it? It was a triple header, no? End of a triple header, right?
Quadruple header, I
Was
believe.
it a quadruple or a triple? I can't remember.
We had what? Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
Bahrain, Japan. No, China had a week before Japan, so it
I
wouldn't
was
have been.
gonna say, I think it was a, because I think the one week I was gone.
Yes, we had Australia, then China the week after, then a week off for
And then
Japan,
the triple header, and then now we have
Japan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, a week off Miami,
welcome to
then a
my.
week off to Italy, and then Monaco. So we have
I'm
a
actually
triple header after
excited.
that. We have
As horrible as the Monaco track is, I'm actually excited for Monaco. I don't know why. It's like one of my favorite
It's
races.
just fun to watch, like
It's so fun to
because
watch.
we're
It's
speaking into
great.
existence that we're gonna go
It
to it.
is. It's such an energetic race for some reason. I think it's because it's so freaking small.
We're gonna have to find a storyline. The
I
Leclerc
know.
repeat or something. We'll figure it out.
I know.
But
We got time.
we have some time to figure that out. Go follow the Instagram. We're putting a little bit more content up. We still haven't been great about that, and that's mostly on me
No.
because
Well,
Sydney's
we'll get
giving me a bunch of stuff to post,
we'll
and
get
I
a
haven't
system.
done it, so that's on me. But
Get a system.
we're going to start posting there more. Subscribe. We're actually getting some views on these podcasts, which is cool.
Yay! Like,
Now, I see you
subscribe,
all viewing
comment,
it. Subscribe because we don't have a single
please.
subscriber. We just have a lot of people viewing it because I know there's regulars that view it, right? I've seen the people do it.
Oh yeah. One of them is definitely me, by the way.
One's you. I know one's my mom. My dad does it. I think my grandma does. We got a lot,
Oh, I
but
love it. We we do need to figure out how to get this on the podcast streaming
which we will,
devices
which we will. But that's a problem for off the podcast. In the
some
meantime,
some later time.
some later time. In the meantime, go follow the Instagram, Tread Lightly F1. Go
Join
subscribe to
the
the Instagram.
community.
Let us know if you want anything. Give us suggestions of what we should do because we have our system and I think it's going pretty well. I find this very fun to do and I think
I do too.
people
I
like
we've
watching
got a
it.
good
So
we got a good system
go let
going.
us know. We're gonna do some IRL stuff eventually.
I'm
The
excited.
bar,
The
F1
big news coming,
arcade,
I think what, May?
end of
June?
May.
I can't
So
remember. Is it May?
we'll see. I don't know if there's an exact date, but it
I don't
is
know if there's either. I feel like I
in
saw it,
May
but
at some
I
point.
remember.
We're gonna be in Philadelphia at the F1 bar slash arcade. Still
Yay!
going to go to the F1 bar in the city when Sydney's here next time.
That'll be so
We got
fun.
some stuff coming up. So,
Yay!
in the meantime, we will talk to you guys next week. Miami Grand Prix. We got a week off.
Got a week
Enjoy the
off.
weekend without it because I know
Um,
I'm going to. I have a wedding this weekend that I have to be a part of.
That's
Not
exciting.
have to. I'm excited to be
Sleep
part of it.
in. Sleep in this weekend.
Go to sleep in is gonna
Even though
be
it was a late race this weekend, but sleep in.
it's fine. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.